Hello and welcome to Two Guys, One Game. This time round we're going to be taking a quick look at everyone's favourite tood-filled hog, Sonic. He's had loads of games throughout the years, but his outings on Sega's 8-bit console, the Master System, don't actually get talked about all that often. So guess what? That's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to look at Sonic games for the Master System. Now how about I shut the hell up and we just take a look at some games. Sonic the Hedgehog, Sega's answer to Mario, who had so much potential but never really had the quality of games as Mario, even back in the day, despite what people try to kid themselves into thinking. Much like Mario, he starred in loads of games on loads of platforms, but for some reason people only really tend to talk about the Mega Drive games or the new games that are an absolute pile of trash. So in the interest of nothing in particular, let's take a look at some of the Sonic games from some of the other Sonic series and spin-offs that are out there. Starting with this one, the first Sonic game I ever played, Sonic the Hedgehog on the Sega Master System. As you may have noticed, it's a side-scrolling platformer, no surprise there. Dr. Robotnik, as he should still be known as, has of course buggered off with the Chaos Emeralds because he's a bastard, and that's what he does. So you have to stop him, because that's what you do. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on the Sega Master System is shockingly the sequel to Sonic the Hedgehog 1 on the Master System. Spoiler. As you'll probably know, Sonic 2 was the debut of Sonic's equivalent of Luigi, the double-tailed fox Tails. However, whereas in the Mega Drive version of the game, Tails helps you out, in the Master System version, he's been kidnapped by Dr. Robotnik, because Robotnik is still a bastard. And so you have to go and rescue the little bugger. This is all detailed in the game's very descriptive intro sequence. The first thing you will notice about the game is that the graphics have been improved. Even though the first one already had excellent graphics, loads of detail and good animations, these ones all seem to have been turned up to 11. It's awesome. Sonic Chaos for the Master System was released in 1993. It's a game focused on tricky platforming and traps in some relatively empty levels. However, there are definitely a fair few enemies and not too much slowdown. The graphics here are a mixed bag. Everything looks kind of shiny and I think it looks good, but I'm not a big fan of Sonic's new look. The levels here are pretty short and you'll be able to beat each one in under a minute, if you're not exploring for the Chaos Emeralds that is. But you do have to be careful as the lack of enemies is made up for with spikes and bottomless pits. You get some cool power-ups like rocket boots that make you fly really fast. These are fun to use, and if you find some you can normally skip most of the level with them. The boss fights here do stand out, and they're all fun to play. You do get rings, so you don't have to worry too much about taking a hit, which can make them pretty easy, but they're still fun to do. Tails is also a playable character here, but the levels are all the same. You'll just have the ability to fly for a short while. Overall, this is a good platform game, and it's well worth adding to your Master System collection. Sonic Blast was released in 1996 for the Master System. As always, you've got to stop Dr. Robotnik from doing his bad things. The game uses some pretty terrible pre-rendered graphics, and while the game actually scrolls quite smoothly, the animation on the characters is just awful. In terms of design, it's standard Sonic stuff, but the controls here are more floaty and overall just not responsive. This is likely because the game wasn't actually made by Sega, it was outsourced. Sonic now has a double jump which does come in handy and thankfully can make up for the sloppy control elsewhere, as there are a lot of platforming sections with instant death traps. They attempted the loops here, but most of the time you don't run around them properly and you just come to a sudden stop as soon as you hit it. You can't even spin dash around them most of the time, and it just seems like collision detection wasn't even tested. You can play as Knuckles the Echidna, or Enchilada as Toby would say, which is cool, except he controls pretty badly. Just the same as Sonic, but he can glide. Sadly, the game is just not fun to play, so avoid this one. Dr. Robotnik's Mean Beam Machine is a Puyo Puyo style puzzle game where your goal is to match 4 or more of the same coloured blobs to make them disappear. The bigger number of blobs, the more chains you create, and it makes blobs fall on your opponent's screen. Whoever's screen fills to the top with blobs first is the loser. Now that's really all there is to the game.
There are actually a few different game modes, with a story mode that sees you playing through increasingly more difficult opponents, as well as a puzzle mode where you have a limited number of blobs to clear the screen. Both of these modes are fine, but with the story mode I really had trouble even getting past the first level. It might be because I suck, but the game relies heavily on you creating chains, where once you clear some blobs and you've arranged them so they fall, it creates a chain reaction. And I just wasn't smart enough to do that, and it took me more than half an hour just to get past the first level. The puzzle mode is cool, but it gets pretty tricky pretty fast. I guess I'm just not a massive fan of these kinds of game, so maybe I'm not the best person to tell you if it's any good. If you do like Puyo Puyo games though, then here is Sonic Spinball for the Master System, released in 1994. It's sort of a pinball platform crossover where you play as Sonic, who's trying to invade Robotnik's island. There's a few levels and each one is basically a different pinball table, with the aim of each being to collect the Chaos Emeralds that are hidden on it. This actually sounds really cool, but as I'm sure most of you know, the whole thing just kinda sucks. The graphics aren't bad, but everything is very choppy, which makes doing anything in the game almost impossible. Also, the collision detection is pretty bad, and of course the physics are broken too. You have a fair amount of control over Sonic as he's flying around the place, but this doesn't really help at all, as most of the time it's just luck that you hit what you're trying to hit. My biggest complaint though is just that there's never any indication of what you're meant to be doing. Of course, over time I figured out some things, and you basically have to find and hit switches and hidden objects to open up new paths. But with the bad controls and sloppy gameplay, it's just no fun. And that's about all. It's just not fun.
So there you go. 6 Master System games featuring that blue ball of shite, and one featuring Jim Carrey. Which one of these is your favourite? Let us know in the comments below. On screen now you can see where you can follow us, so why not do that? There's plenty of videos for you to click on and watch, loads of cool stuff to check out. Now, all that's left for me to say is thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.